moving forward. Okay. Now, for some of you, a lot of the information that we share during these meetings, you're going to go, oh, I knew that. It's going to be, oh, well, duh, of course, of course. But for many of us, it's going to be, oh, that clarifies it. And again, if you have some feedback on any of the presentations on this part, I would like you to share that. But this came up, again, because my client in Rockland, it's what is a domain name? And what does that mean? So we're going to go through a few tips. And again, what I'd like to do is, who would like to be the timer today? Okay. And you have a timer clock on your smartphone? Of course, smartphones are awesome. They do that.
If I don't, I will download one, right?
And again, as a Toastmaster, you know what the cards mean, right?
Yes.
And either recommend or not.
Okay, so let's do
green,
a
yellow,
5-minute
green,
a 6-minute yellow, and a 7-minute red. And that
Okay.
lets me know where I am. And also we're going to wrap up with about 2 to 3 minutes, depending on how long I take, of Q&A and comment.
Okay.
So this is my 5-minute tip. Now, who knows what URL means? You do? Okay, what is it?
Universal? Or is it universal?
Uniform.
Uniform resource locator.
No, isn't that's like
Is
what?
that it?
Yeah, that's it.
Okay.
I had to Google it because I didn't know what it meant. I referred to it, but that's just geek speak. I mean, what does that mean? So you think about it as a web address. It's a location of where something is, and that location may be a web page. Yes.
You say again. URL is
Uniform Resource Locator.
Locator.
Well, we can Google it.
Honestly, something you'll never need.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Honestly, that's not a right. I saw you
Yeah.
writing that. That's not one that you'll.
That's
ever
why I
need to
didn't
know.
put it up there.
Yeah.
It says why put it up there? It's not important anyway. But you might hear it referred, and
You
think
do
of it
hear it,
as a
yes.
web address. It's yay Bob. Think about it as a location of a page. A URL can also be a picture. All those images on web pages have a URL because they have to exist somewhere. It might be a file. Like when you download a PDF file off of somebody's website, that has a web address, okay? We're gonna come back to you, Bob, after this presentation. I'll let you introduce yourself. So a domain name points at a URL. So when you register a www at a registrar, and GoDaddy is one, Network Solutions is one, you own a domain name that you can then point at something, which generally is a web page or a website. Okay? Now, here are some name selection tips. Don't be cryptic. Now, going to our SEO expert here, having, like, for example, I'm working with an arts organization, they call themselves the NCA. That means nothing as far as search engines, correct?
Correct. If you can, ideally, you want your keywords, if you can have them, in your domain name. So
Yes.
www.art,
Yes.
lessons, whatever they are, .com.
We went for norcalartist.org.
And if you can't, sometimes you just can't. Somebody has a name, they already have it. You can, in future pages, you can add those extensions onto pages.
Yeah.
But if you can get it into your URL and it makes sense, then do it. But don't go for something that doesn't make sense, or it's obvious you're shoving it in there where it doesn't make
Yeah.
for a very good domain name.
Look at it like people are trying to figure out where you are. Because a lot of times you don't have your business card. If we've got your business card, we can, say, www, whatever.
Right.
But if we're Googling, cryptic names or abbreviations often won't help us.
They won't, and you don't want to have to explain to somebody that's www, and that's the number 4 followed by a dash, and it's
Exactly.
spelled without an E at the end. You don't want to have to go through that, right?
Well, in our domain name, which we've had for like 20 years almost now, it's XL Networks. I thought it was a good name, but I have to say X is an X-ray, L is an Larry, because they assume the word Excel. So take a lesson from that. So don't be cryptic. Better a little too long than short and we don't know what it means. .com versus other options. I got an email from somebody who said, should I register the .com or the .us? Now you might have some more up-to-date feedback, but what I read on the internet is they're saying the search engines don't necessarily give you more points for the .com. Is that true? Does that help in ranking?
It's .com. If you can get .com, go
Absolutely.
with .com. Absolutely. Because
it's
what'll
what
happen is somebody else probably has it if you don't, and if you get something else like .us or .net, then when you give them their name, they're instinctively going to type in .com and go to somebody else's website.
Exactly.
That's the general one. So get something you can get in .com if you can. Lock it up in .net and a couple others, as many as you want, so nobody else can get yours closely. It costs you probably 10 or 15 bucks per year for one that you get, but if you want to pick the first, and dominate it, but I would go with .com.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of my other reasons is because that's the default that we think about. We don't think .us or .net or any of the others. From a search engine standpoint, it might not help you as much in the rankings as I previously believed.
I think you might be right.
Yeah,
Yes.
because on the research that I did.
Yep.
The other thing is that be careful when you register. Like, let's say you go with the .net. Make sure it's not a company that does almost the exact same thing as you do. Like, let's call it Rockland Pest Control. Let's say that's taken. Okay, I'll go with rocklandpestcontrol.net. Now, because we default to .com, you may be sending business to your competition. I mean, if they're in New York, less likely. But again, you have to be thinking about that as far as your customers getting confused. You can use it for URL. So the most obvious thing is to take a www.something and point it to your website.